Good afternoon, everybody. Kay Mitchell is my name. I'm working as part of the Admissions and Schools undergraduate recruitment team in the University at Maynooth University. I'm joined here today by my colleagues Deirdre and Clodagh, who will be in the background, very happy to answer any queries or questions you might have as we walk our way through the CAO Change of Mind. And the thinking behind this is to give people kind of time to reflect when the Leaving Cert is over. It's been a very busy year. You have applied to the CAO. For that had to be parked when you went into your exams. But now it's time to pause again and re-look at your choices. And the reason we offer this is, come offers time, there's always people who will have forgotten to do something. It can cause a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety at a time when you don't actually need that extra angst when you're waiting to see what way the offers are being sent out through the CAO and what decisions you have to make at that stage. So it is important to go back in and check everything again. And even though you've done this with a fine tooth comb perhaps earlier on, I always encourage people, don't assume that all is okay. The first thing I would say to you is time to go through your order of preference. Now, in terms of your order of preference and your course codes, it's very, very important you do this, and I'll show you why in a moment. With the course codes, it's pretty straightforward in the universities. You can check the course codes against the undergraduate prospectus or the website. It's pretty easy. But if anybody is looking at the technological universities, it's very, very important that the course code reflects the campus you expect to be on. And again, this is about fine-tuning things and making sure you understand it. When the CAO kicks into motion, it's a computerized system that will make the offers on behalf of the various HEIs you're looking at. And the thinking behind it is to give people the highest preference on their list of choices based on their performance. Contrary to what everybody thinks, the HEIs are not deciding the points. This is where they're decided. And it's always down to the number of places available on any degree programme, the competition for those places, and how the Leaving Certs have performed as a whole in this particular year. So applicants to the CAO, you can make up to 10 choices on your level 8 programs and 10 on your level 6 or 7 programs. And it's almost like you can see them operating like two independent computers, if you like. And the idea and the thinking behind it is you would list these down in order of preference. Now, this is very counterintuitive because there's something in the human condition that thinks we have to list things down in order of points. And that is something that the CAO and everybody in these systems would advise you against, because you could end up, points can change from year to year. It depends on what is happening. And you could end up getting a course that you actually didn't want and cancelling out the one you really did want, because this is how it works. The guidance counsellors and yourself will have been creating a wish list this year, and this is the whole idea between numbers 1 maybe to 5 or 4 there on the list. You would have listed courses down there in order of preference, what it is you would most like to do if you were working in an ideal world. You didn't have the stress of reality to deal with and the Leaving Cert and everything going on. And unfortunately, we can't stop the universe revolving on its axis when we're doing our Leaving Cert. Life just ticks over as it does. So from 1 to 3 or 4, you have those order of preference choices, and they're your wish list. Number 1 being you win the lotto. It's the course you most want. Second best, number 2, third, fourth, and so on. From 4 or 5 down in the middle there, students are over on level 6 or 7, and they might be only targeting level 6 or 7. This is very much about personal choice. You have listed there courses that if things didn't go fully to plan, you could create a pathway there to move on through perhaps a slightly alternative route, but end up with the same qualification. And towards the end, or over at level 6 or 7, you have options in there, what we would call your banker courses, or the courses that are down there that you know you possibly, even if things go astray, based on your study plans for the last 2 years and your performance in your mocks, that you should be in line for. So that you have listed down there a whole variety of options, and you haven't fallen into the trap of only listing the ones you most want, being afraid to look at others. Because do remember, there's one thing being in a situation in round 1 offers where something might come your way initially. You're not particularly over the moon about it, but at least you have a voice. You can say yes or no. There's nothing as demoralizing as putting in a lot of work and being in a situation where no offer came your way. So we want to avoid that at all costs. So making sure you have listed down a variety of courses. Your wish list should never change, ever, really. And I would always say to people, when you're actually doing this, I would say to you, always check out that you haven't moved your wish list, because you don't know how the papers have really gone. People are inclined to sometimes come out and do a knee-jerk reaction and change on your wish list. If it's out and gone by July the 1st, it can't be put back in there. So just be aware of that and make sure you have a broad range of options in there. It is important to realise that in round one offer, the universities will have sent out, the computer systems in the CAO know the number of places on every single course in the country. They check the admission requirements, the course requirements if there's any, and then the competition. That's where your points is. So in round one offers, the highest number of offers go out. And the job of this system is they would have checked out the matriculation and entry requirements and course requirements, and then they look at where you are in the pecking order. And say, for example, this applicant here, we're looking at their course choices, and we'll say for argument's choice that they got in their first round, they got offered number 5 here at level 8. Say, for example, they got number 5 here as an option. And at the same time, because they've listed courses over here at level 6 and 7, they've also got a number 3. So they got 2 offers at the same time. And that can happen if you have a broad range of choices across these 2 areas. Now, you'll have a few days to actually accept or reject an offer. What happens as soon as the CAO offers you a place? If you got offered number 5 and number 3, immediately that happens, anything beneath 5 is cancelled, because you have listed 5 where you did. So yet the computer is reading that anything beneath 5, you're not interested in. You got 5, you're that far up. There is potential to move up the choices, both in level 6 and 7, into 1 or 2, or 1, 2, 3, or 4. But when you're offered number 5 or number 3 on the other side, anything you have placed beneath that are cancelled, because it's intuitively working off the order of preference. And that is very, very important to know. In round, I would always encourage people to actually accept one of those offers. If you get 2 offers, accept one of them. And if you accept one of them, the other offer will be sent out to somebody else in the next round. But accepting an offer on the CAO doesn't mean to say you won't get a higher order preference. In rounds 2, the CAO will make it, the HEIs will go in after the CAO is closed down, and they will flag to those HEIs where vacancies still exist on their courses. Now, the universities will go back in. Every course has to be filled, because in the system that we have, every university and college is depending on the registration costs and the funding, the tuition fee that we get from the government for every single person on these courses. So these courses have to be filled. So if there's still places available on their degree programs in whatever areas they are across the whole system, round 2 offers are issued. If round 2 offers are issued, they're issued out of the waiting list, which means the points may go down on the courses that you're looking for. So accepting a round 1 offer, say at number 5, means that in round 2, and this can happen with round 3, if you can be made a higher preference offer. So you could get offered number 1, 2, 3, or 4 from level 8, or 1 or 2 at level 6 or 7, which means even though you've accepted number 5 or anything beneath that, whatever your scenario is, you can move up and accept a higher offer. You don't have to. You can ignore subsequent offers. You can actually do that. But the reality is you're in charge of it. You can move up or stay where you are. So it is important to look at your order of preference, to check out your course codes and make sure you understand what campus you're going on if it's a HEI that is operating across a few campuses. When you're looking at the options you might be adding in, sometimes students, this very morning on the phone, I had a mum on to me whose daughter had gone into a very specialised area of work last year. It was in a history degree. And now at the end of the year, she is sorry she didn't add in geography. But her scenario is that if she does that, if she wants to add in geography, she to go back to first year again, because you can't start a degree subject in year 2, because that won't give you enough credits. You can't go into year 2 to begin a new subject. You have to take it from first year to build the credits up to allow you to be awarded with a BA. But that means that individual, if she decides to make that option, will be looking at repeat fees. So when you're registering with a HEI, last year it was 2,500. That is the registration cost. The tuition fee is paid for by the government, but the government will only pay the tuition fee for every year you work through and pass the degree, or pass the year and move on to the next degree. So her situation is she's now got to consider whether it's worth going back to the CAO in first year to pick up the subject geography, because if she does that, instead of paying her 2,500 or whatever it will be this year for registration, then you're looking at fees of just under €6,000 for that 1 year. So would you like to look at options that would give you broad entry? The biggest challenge students have at Leaving Cert is trying to really understand what they're really interested in. And broader options like arts or broad entry into business or science may not seem as spectacular in the title, and may be off-putting because the points are lower because there's a number of places are greater. What people sometimes forget and applicants sometimes fail to see is that what you're actually doing is giving yourself more options in first year to cut down the margin of error of getting too specialised too early. That doing the journey at third level in a broad option choice gives you an opportunity to really make an informed decision in the third level sector, right, rather than trying to imagine what that will be like when you're still outside of the system, if you were. And that's where areas like general science and arts come into play, and we'll refer to that again in a few minutes in the presentation. The round 1 offers are going to be issued through the CAO on August the 26th at 2 o'clock. And if you have agreed to take SMS messages from the CAO, they can alert you by text. And it means then you'll have a reply date on that. At the moment, it's showing up as September the 1st at 3 o'clock. So you have time to consider. And round 2 offers then, as I mentioned, will be going out after that. At 12 o'clock after CAO offers go out, 12 o'clock the following day, the CAO will publish available places. Those are places that haven't been filled and now would be available to apply for if you meet the admission requirements and if you meet the course requirement, the entry requirement and the course requirements. And that means that students can apply for those. You're not applying based on a points based, they're available to apply for, and you can apply into your system and look at what's available there. I always urge caution with that. Sometimes students, if offers are not coming their way the way they thought they would, and things can go astray for you, you're in a situation where students feel they have to get to third level, and certainly do have a look and do put them down, and you can accept your offer if you wish and get a place. But before going into register, it is very, very important that you go in and contact that department, contact that faculty or visit the college and ensure you're making an informed choice, because you don't want to be in a situation where you start the course and it doesn't work out. It can actually be quite a challenge for you if that actually is the scenario. So looking at available places, they can provide choices and opportunities, but do so, and going in to register with the colleges, make sure you're going in with as much information behind you as you are. Accepting a place on the CAO doesn't mean to say you're going to third level. Do remember that. You can accept a place and you can email in before you register later on if you change your mind and say, my name is Kay Mitchell, this is my CAO number, I accepted this course but I've changed my mind. And it's up to the HEI to fill that place, because the system will stay live until October for the waiting list can be addressed. Because you don't have any registration is where you pay over your fees. So there's no fees implications for doing that. You're not in any contract with the college until you go in and register and pay your fees. Would you consider doing a deferral? That's something some universities offer. I know we offer it across all of our degree programs. The only scenario where we don't offer it is if we know a course isn't going to run the next year. And we'll always advise the applicant who's seeking a deferral of that at that particular moment in time. It won't suit everybody, but it can be a nice time, and do check it out with the various institutions you're looking at. A nice time to take some time out, maybe try out a course, maybe at PLC level, maybe work for a year, just to consider your options. It's something some students, about 300 odd students with us each year, will actually do that and avail of the deferral option. And you simply reapply to the CAO the following year. You're not competing in points. You just pick up your course, tell give us your new CAO number, and your offer will be issued to you in early July. Upgrades will come in. Those are for applicants who are not particularly happy with how their points have worked out, and they feel there's an opportunity there to have a look at the paper with their teacher in school and submit it, perhaps to have a recheck on it. And if you are upgraded and you are now given the points and you have the points for the course you initially should have gotten but missed out on because of some error somewhere along the line, you are legally entitled to an offer, and that offer will be issued to you through the CAO in the weeks after round one offers. They're coming in now much earlier than they used to hitherto for. And in the rare occasion where a HEI can't facilitate you with a place that year, then it's a case of they'll offer you a deferred offer. It means you can apply next year and you'll be guaranteed it the following year. It's a rare event. It can happen in areas like primary school teaching or medicine, where the course is full and there genuinely is no flexibility with them. But they will talk to you about that on a one-to-one basis if that situation arises. But it's good to know how it actually works. It is also very important when you're checking your CAO course codes and all the rest of it that you've checked your Leaving Certificate number. When you registered into the portal for your Leaving Cert, you will have your Leaving Certificate number. You've been looking at it for the last number of weeks written on your desk. But do check the digits. Please check the digits. There's a lot of digits in there. And if the Leaving Certificate number is missing from your CAO application, or there's a digit in the wrong place, it means the computer in the CAO system can't go into the education department and extract the file of your Leaving Cert results. This happens year on year, where a number of students will ring in to the admissions office quite distressed. They know they have the admission requirements, the course requirements, and the points that have been issued for the particular course they're interested in, and they can't figure out really why they haven't been made an offer. But when we go to check on the file for them, their Leaving Certificate file isn't showing. So they have to wait until round two offers come around again. But there's also that worry, will there be places available? So you may end up, and hopefully not, you could be in a situation where you miss out on an offer just because your Leaving Certificate file was missing. So you can't be too careful with it. Another thing that can happen is a language exemption. If you're entitled to a language exemption or an exemption through Irish, have you processed that? Is it in the CAO system? You can upload it in the system when the offers are going out, but the system won't be able to roll it over, because when round one offers are issued in that interim where people are accepting or letting offers go, in that period of time, the system is frozen. So if you're entitled to an Irish language exemption or a third language exemption, it is very, very important you can make sure it's processed and the document uploaded onto your CAO application file. For the NUI exemptions, the Galway, Cork, UCD Belfield and ourselves, we're the 4 NUIs, you will find that's the NUI there. You can actually see it. You can go in there on the system and do the language exemptions. You can go in and download the form you need, have them filled out, upload them, fill out the form, scan them in, and just attach your systems. They're pretty quick. They do it very, very quickly. Exemptions from other HEIs, really do contact those HEIs about those if you're entitled to that you're applying to a non-NUI HEI and you wish to process your exemption. The wish list, again, I would say to you, you will never know your Leaving Cert results until you receive your Leaving Cert results. So please, unless you're going to seek advice from a qualified professional like your guidance counsellor, always chat it out with somebody before you actually change your wish list. I'm obviously talking from a position of knowledge for students who've done this and they're so regretful afterwards. So do please take that advice on board. Next steps then. Once that's all done and dusted, and you have until July the 1st to do that, what I would say to you is, there is another step, And sometimes people obviously it's time to relax. You've been working very, very hard. You've had revision timetables coming out your ears now for a long time, and you're physically and mentally tired. But somewhere along the line, don't forget that you will have to prepare for an orientation program. And sometimes that's why it can be a good thing, perhaps, if you feel it's all too much too quickly to make that transition to seek a deferral. But if you're ready to roll with it, it's no harm to start looking at when is orientation for your particular HEI. With us, it'll be in September, and we'll have 2 days prior to that where students can attend to check out subject choice talks, which are very, very useful. Have you looked at registration requirements? Each year there's always angst about people ringing in and they don't have a valid passport, they can't lay hands on their birth cert, they can't get some documentation. So you are going to need some ID to actually go in and register. So make sure that you know somewhere in the house that these documents exist and they're available to you to put your hand on them when you need them. When you actually accept an offer through the CAO, you'll be now in the system, and that system will roll over for the various HEIs, and they will send all the information to you through your postal address, and be aware of that. I would also say just double check the email that it's still valid that you have in the CAO, because your pre-registration information from the colleges will be going down to that email as well. So just make sure that all the details are there. But it's to just get yourself into the mode of when is your orientation. Don't be absent for it. People are inclined to sometimes think it's not important. It's a very important time when you're settling in, becoming aware of where places are, hearing all the advice from the various departments in those first couple of in that first week before lectures begin the following week. So the orientation program, if at all possible, it is very, very important that you attend that, and it puts you into that kind of frame of mind for the following week when lectures commence. Earlier on, I mentioned about broad option choices, that sometimes students think they're a little less valid perhaps, or a little less attractive. It could be a points issue, or they're not quite sure because it doesn't carry a particular title. And we have one of those degrees. I mean, we've lots of different flexible options, but one of the most flexible and most applied for course on the CAO system, believe it or not, is the university arts degree. The arts degree in Maynooth, the entry requirements are English, Irish, and a third language. Obviously, you need your six Leaving Certificate subjects, 2 at higher level and 4 passes. There are QQI pathways to it as well. There's 175 places available for the QQI pathways as well. But from the Leaving Cert, unless you have an exemption, there is a requirement for 3 languages. The vision of this degree, and many of you may or may not be aware, there was a lot of debate earlier on in the year about the relativity of an arts degree into the whole area of employment. And in many ways, we had preempted this many, many years ago, because our vision for this degree is this: to create a broad platform of choice for our applicants. The one thing we're very aware of is we're very student-centre focused in Maynooth University. And we're very aware when students are coming in to an education pathway, it can be a trap in many ways, because you're inclined to think you know everything there is to know about education from second level, yet you're going on to professional platforms. You're coming out of something that's very structured, organised and directed into something where you're now going to be trained as a professional. And you're coming into subject areas perhaps where you have some knowledge of, little knowledge of, and you're not quite sure. And the beauty of the arts degrees for us in Maynooth is you don't choose your choices, or you don't choose your subjects rather, on the CAO, and you choose them when you register. But on top of that, when students register and commence their lectures in the following week, they still have 4 weeks to change their mind. And that means they not only go to their own lectures, but they can visit as many lectures as they wish in those initial 4 weeks. And if they wish to change their mind, they decided they found something more interesting, or they found something they thought was going to be interesting isn't working out that way, then they have 4 weeks flexibility. It's as much as we can offer, because you're working on a 13-week semester. And it does facilitate choices being made on an experiential learning basis, rather than, hoping that it will work out, or you think based on research alone. The entry numbers on this programme are phenomenally large. There was a time this degree, we used to bring in 700 students. Now it's sitting at 1,700. So it's almost like we've created a broad platform, or broad portal of choice for students to come in and create a pathway, a professional pathway, based on their experience by journeying through the degree. Yet all anybody can see and everybody discusses is the fact that the CAO points are quite low. The CAO points are quite low, directly related into 1,700. The points for this degree when it was sitting around the 700 mark were anything between 350, 345, 355 on any one year. So it's the reality is the number of places, the 1,700th applicant had 300 points. About 24-25% of our entrance scholars, those applicants who come in on 575 points and more each year, are sitting on this degree each year. But it's skewed numerically when people look at those entry requirements. Very quickly, you're looking at a timetable here where there's a whole range of subjects to choose from. And it's allowing people to come in and base their choices based on the timetable. So if you can see every box, it's almost like the subject bands you look at in school when you're making your subject choices for your Leaving Certificate portfolio. But when you're coming in here, any subject you're looking at there, anything in a group is taught at the same time. So for example, in first year, if I chose geography, nothing else in that group. I couldn't choose it with law, philosophy, mathematics, pure philosophy. I would have to choose subjects from another group. And this is how it works. Every year you take 60 credits. Every subject is taught at a minimum of a 15 credit option. So in theory, I could take 4 subjects of choice as long as they're all from different groups. In every single group, you see a subject here called critical skills. Now, this isn't an academic subject, but it's a continuous assessment module you could take as a 15 credit academic weighting that will train you in how to settle in well into the world of research, into the world of how to understand, how to present an academic document, which is about 1,500 word document. That's your essay in third level, how to research it, how to create a bibliography, how to be comfortable giving presentations to a group of people, how to discuss something as part of a group, how to work with research, how to verify research. These are all life skills and jobs relatable skills. And it's a continuous assessment module. About half the students each year doing arts will actually choose that option. Some of these subjects you can take as a double. They're all asterisks on the prospectus on the website and here on the slide with a little circle beside them. Not all of them have them, but if you look towards geography, law, business, English, anthropology, computer science, it means if I wished, I could take half my first year in that subject area. I don't have to, but I can. So essentially here, I could take 4 subjects of choice from first year, as long as they're not from the same grouping. I could take 3 academic subjects with critical skills. I could take a double and 2 singles, or a double with a subject from critical skills. You can't go wrong because the system won't allow you to make a mistake in registration. It won't allow you to register for something that doesn't work. And remember, you have your 4 weeks to change your mind. So in here, you have a whole range of options from subjects you've heard of before, if you're in second level, like English, history, geography, business, accounting, finance, etc., to options to try out law, to try out business, to try out criminology, psychological studies, etc. So it's giving you an opportunity to try out a program of study. For example, anybody who comes into arts can choose law in year 1. And if you take 30 credits in law with 2 other subjects of choice, after first year, you then can make a decision whether to continue with law or stay with arts. Or if you continue with law, you can leave arts in year 2 and join second year of the law school. You can create that pathway with business, accounting, finance, economics, computer programming as well. Criminology is the same. And there's pathways now from English into creative writing. So the reality is it's allowing you a platform of flexibility and choice by spending your initial 4 weeks, attending as many lectures as you wish with the lectures you've registered for, and then spending that year exploring. So at the end of first year, based on university experience, you are making an informed choice. It's worth mentioning psychological studies if anybody's interested in it. We have 2 separate degrees that carry accreditation, a BA and a BSc in psychology, but there's a pathway through arts at 300 points whereby you can take an option called psychological studies. It's halfway down group 6 there on your right. And at the end of year 1, if you're continuing with psychological studies, you've taken it with other subjects in first year, you continue with it in second and third year with another subject. Now, it doesn't give you an accredited qualification in psychology, but it means at that point, if you still decide you want an accredited qualification for forward progression on into further studies, there's a 1-year master's conversion program you can avail of that will allow you to create that pathway and have an accreditation awarded. So following first year, and there's an excellent arts subject guide available on the website that you can download as a PDF. It's the MH101 Arts Subject Guide. This basically is an A to a Z directory of every subject in the arts degree. So you can go in there and you can see all the subjects and how they're offered, how it actually works, and the transfer pathways work. But if you're staying in arts, in second year, your options would be to take 2 subjects of choice for a double major, 1 single major in some areas like English, history, geography, anthropology. Those areas are single majors in finance or economics. Or you could do a major minor, which is 40 credits in one or 20 in another. If you've taken these subjects in first year, there's fair, straightforward pathways by starting off in first year, whereby in second year you transfer into these programs based on your first year university experience, and you exit Maynooth with these qualifications rather than your arts degree. For those of you who might be interested in education pathways for primary school teaching or secondary school teaching, your arts degree has a lot to offer. Say, for example, for second level education, 2 teaching subjects to degree level is your optimum, and you can apply then for your professional masters in education, which is a 2-year add-on. Then you have the professional master's conversion program for primary school teaching, which is open to graduates of every discipline, including arts. Now, for that qualification, everybody knows you need higher level Irish. And if you're going in as the conversion masters, there's a TEG program they ask you to sit. It's an exam you have to, not a program, it's an exam you have to take. And if you get a certain grade of 60% or higher, then they accept that as the equivalent of a H4 grade in Irish. So it's an application you can make after your degree to take a 2-year conversion program that will get you into primary school teaching. Another broad entry option would be your science degree. Again, it comes in as general science, but the thinking is exactly the same. In first year, everybody takes mathematics. That's a requirement across all science degrees. And then these are your choices across biology, chemistry, physics, etc., into the maths and engineering areas. But again, the thinking of this is that each year, as you progress, you start off with your maths and 3 subjects. And again, you get your 4 weeks to test the waters and see what suits you best. In you have your maths, you have your 3 subjects. In second year, then you can continue on with 3 subjects, or you can go down to 2 with critical skills and an elective. In year 3, you can continue on with your 2 subjects, and in your final year, as you do your pathway in your journey, you can actually end up with a specialism in 1 subject or 2. But the beauty of this degree is you specialise as you go, because each year you drop a subject. There's so many option modules you can choose within your specified area, whether it's in physics or maths or chemistry or biology. You're allowing yourself to diversify and become specialised. So you're creating your own platform of specialism. On top of which, we have excellent maths support in the university for everybody doing anything that's maths related, and also with science. That's free of charge, available every day in the library from the end of October, from 10 to 1 and 2 to 5. It's free tutorial support, and tutorial support for anybody doing IT from computer programming is available as well. Other broad options then, if you're interested in areas like business, there's 6 options to choose from there that you can choose from when you go in to register your 4 weeks to make your mind. If you come in under the MH404 codes, and you're allowed to choose areas like international business, business and global studies, management, marketing. So it's an opportunity to go in and have a look at your options, and you have time to change your mind. The same thing would be true if you come into MH502 law. There's options there. We have a separate entry for pure law, but you can come in under MH502 and choose the options there. You can take law with arts, business, accounting. So you're allowed to go in there, or law with criminology. It's allowing you to go in there and take your time in that initial 4 weeks to switch around. The pathway in science I've just gone through with you. In science education, if anybody's looking at that, there are 3 pathways. You have your science education route, you have your maths and applied maths route, and you also have computer programming and maths. So there's those 3 streams that are all taught within that MH212 rubric. MH304 electronic engineering, you have a 2-year common entry program. And after you're doing the 2-year common entry, it's only in year 3 you decide whether you're going into computer communications or electronic engineering itself. And it gives you that opportunity, if you like, to make your decision based on experiential learning. For more information, if you go on to mu.ie/prospectus, you'll find our publications are there, and you also have detailed information on the level 8 degree programs. This is your first year art subject guide, which is invaluable for anybody who's interested in looking at arts further or going into the details of the structure, and specifically for the transfer options. And we have on Saturday coming, our exciting open day is going to be available to you. I'll be kicking off on Saturday morning for anybody who wants to attend talks on every aspect of courses that we teach. The departments will be available to meet, come and talk to our students, see the facilities. Hopefully the sun is still shining and you'll see Maynooth in all its glory. So we would love to see you at the open day if you're interested in joining us then. So that's the end of my presentation. If anybody of you have any questions or queries, I will see what's happening on the questions end of it. If any of you have any queries or questions, you can pop them into the chat there now. If you wish to do that, we'd be more than happy to assist you in any way we can. Have you any queries there, Deirdre or Clodagh?
No, there's nothing coming in, Kate, but if anyone would like to follow up with any questions, feel free to email us on schoolsliaison@mu.ie or through our web chat, which is in the Ask bubble on the right-hand side corner of any of our web pages.
That's perfect. Oh, okay, that's perfect. That's wonderful. Well, for those of you who have joined us, thank you for following along. And thanks to my colleagues, Clodagh and Deirdre, for being the capable and able support there in the background and doing all of that work for me. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for joining.